James 1:12 says, "Blessed is the man that endureth temptation, for when he is tried, he shall receive the crown of life, which the Lord hath promised to them that love him." When I was in 3rd grade in Pequannoconk Elementary School in North Salem, New York, our teachers bravely took a group of about 200 students into New York City to visit the Statue of Liberty. We all boarded the buses and took the hour-long ride to the southern tip of Manhattan. As we rode, everyone was excited that we were going to be climbing to the crown of the Statue of Liberty. None of us had ever been there before, and we kept reminding one another, "Hey, we're going to the crown!" When we arrived, we filed off the buses and waited in a long line to board a ferry that would take us out to Liberty Island. As we waited, we looked across the harbor at that beautiful landmark, and we were saying, "Man, we're going to the crown!" Finally, we got on the ferry. It left the dock and made its way out to the island. We docked at Liberty Island, disembarked from the boat, and looked straight up at that enormous statue mounted on its huge concrete base. And all the way at the top, the crown. We're going to the crown. We followed the teachers over to another long line, the line that led inside of the base. We got in line. We waited. It was the kind of line where you walked 2 steps and then stopped for 5 minutes. Then you walked 3 steps and stopped for 5 minutes. And when you're in the 3rd grade, every minute feels like an hour. It seemed like it was all day before we got to the door. We moved stop and go into the lobby. Then stop and go over to the stairs. Then we moved stop and go up 1 flight of stairs. We reached a landing where we turned and moved step by step, stop and go over to another set of stairs. We ascended that next set of stairs so slowly. Kids were getting impatient. "Stop pushing me. I'm hungry. I gotta go to the bathroom." 1 step after another. 1 flight of stairs after another. "Ugh, we're going to the crown." Then it happened. Somebody a few feet in front of us turned a corner to the next set of stairs, and he turned and yelled back to the rest of us, "I can see the top!" Whoo! Everybody got excited. We were almost to the top. The steps weren't moving any faster, but now they seemed faster because there was hope. We were almost there. We could see the light. The top was right there in front of us. Just 1 more flight of stairs and we'd be there. 1 step and wait. 2 steps and wait. We were almost there. We reached the top of that staircase and looked around and realized that we had reached the top of the concrete base. We weren't even into the statue itself yet. We were at the top of the bottom. This was the end of the beginning. We still had a very long way to go. There were so many more steps yet to climb before we reached the crown. So we walked to the bottom of the next set of stairs and kept climbing towards the crown. The further we climbed, the hotter and the narrower things became. And eventually, we did reach the crown, where we looked out through the windows and saw the most spectacular view of New York Harbor and the New York skyline. It was definitely worth the climb. Our journey to the crown is a great metaphor for the journey of faith. Each new phase is its own struggle, and for the most part, all you can see is the phase you're in. You give all your energy just to get to the top of that current phase. Then when you do reach the top of that phase of life, you turn and take the first step of the next phase. The end of one phase of your life always means the beginning of the next. It can get very frustrating if you don't keep your eyes on the crown. To those whose eyes are not on the crown, life appears to be a pointless rat race. But to everyone who knows that God has promised rewards to those who endure the trials, it's always worth it to just keep taking the next step. No matter how tedious, monotonous, or challenging, they just keep on climbing to the crown. To be clear, I'm not talking about climbing your way to heaven. You only get to heaven by God's grace, through faith in Jesus' death for your sins and his resurrection from the dead. But God does promise rewards after we arrive in heaven to those who endure, those who keep climbing to the crown. Your last step of high school leads to your first step of college. Your last step of college leads to your first step of new pursuits in life. Your last step of single life brings your first step of marriage. One day you take your first step of parenting, of owning a home, of eventually sending your children off into adulthood, of becoming a grandparent, of navigating your later years. The journey's a little bit different for everyone, but believers who just keep taking the next step know the joy of reaching the crown, and it's definitely worth the climb. Blessed is the man that endureth temptation, for when he is tried, he shall receive the crown of life, which the Lord hath promised to them that love him. Christian, just keep climbing to the crown. Stay the course.